Yellowstone's Kevin Costner lands new movie from writer of hit rom-com after box office disaster. Yellowstone star Kevin Costner has landed a role in an upcoming comedy drama, marking one of his first film projects since the opening chapter of his four-part Western saga Horizon bombed at the box office. This comes after his exit from his starring role as John Dutton in the popular Paramount Network series by Taylor Sheridan during the show's fifth season. After leaving the program to concentrate on his personal passion project, the Hollywood heavyweight has now been tapped for the dramedy Honeymoon with Harry at Amazon MGM Studios. Costner will appear alongside Jake Gyllenhaal in the movie adapted from Bart Baker's novel and penned by Dan Fogelman, the creative mind behind the beloved NBC series This Is Us. Glenn Ficarra and John Requa are set to helm the project, following their previous collaboration with Fogelman on the beloved romantic comedy Crazy Stupid Love, plus This Is Us and Paradise, reports The Mirror. The directing duo has previously taken charge of movies including I Love You Philip Morris, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and Focus. According to a plot summary from Deadline, the film follows a man, Gyllenhaal, as he decides to go on a honeymoon with his would-be father-in-law, Costner, after his fiancée dies 2 days before their wedding. Honeymoon with Harry represents one of only a handful of acting gigs Costner has secured while awaiting the uncertain debuts of the second and third installments of his Horizon epic. Chapter 2 was showcased at the Venice and Santa Barbara film festivals, but remains without a theatrical release following the commercial disappointment of the initial entry. The next installment is currently in the works, with the fourth and final chapter in its early stages. Apart from his starring and directing role in his ambitious Civil War epic, he revisited the same era of American history for the period spy thriller The Grey House, which he co-produced through his company Territory Pictures. He's also on board to star in the upcoming surfer thriller Headhunters, alongside Chloe East and Daniel Zavato, a film that Costner also co-wrote with director Stephen Halloran. Next up, he's set to feature in an untitled film from filmmaker Ariel Vroman, who he previously worked with on the 2016 thriller Criminal, which also starred Gary Oldman and Ryan Reynolds. Meanwhile, Costner's co-star Gyllenhaal was last spotted in the Apple TV Plus thriller Presumed Innocent and Prime Video's Roadhouse remake, both of which were released last year. To Kevin Costner's worst Western movie next month. Get ready to see how fast you can draw your remote, that is. All the Kevin Costner fans out there who are waiting for more news to come surrounding the next installment of the actor and filmmaker's latest epic, Horizon, an American Saga. Better head to Netflix if they know what's good for them. That's because, on October 1st, one of his most slept-on Western flicks will be riding off into the sunset and taking its star-studded cast with it. That's right, Wyatt Earp. He's about to leave the platform in the dust, with just a few weeks left for audiences to tune in for the Lawrence Kasdan helmed 3-hour-long epic. To be fair, a huge part of the reason why Wyatt Earp isn't as treasured as other similar period dramas of the time is because the early 90s were a period of Western oversaturation. The film didn't have much of a fighting chance, as it galloped into cinemas in 1994, just 1 year after George P. Cosmatos and a cast including Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer rode into cinemas with Tombstone. Unfortunately, the history about Costner's titular gunslinger and U.S. Marshal just couldn't hold up next to the competition, but it sure tried. Along with a screenplay co-penned by Kasdan and Dan Gordon that fully immersed audiences in the life and times of Earp, the feature put together a standout cast that rivaled that of Tombstone's. Joining Costner was a lineup that included Gene Hackman, The French Connection, Tom Sizemore, Saving Private Ryan, Dennis Quaid, The Substance, Mark Harmon, NCIS, Isabella Rossellini, Conclave, Michael Madsen, Reservoir Dogs, Bill Pullman, Spaceballs, and more. While we certainly don't expect to spot Costner in any of the multitude of Yellowstone offshoots that are popping out of the woodwork, we do have our eyes set for any movement surrounding his Horizon, an American Saga. The film series has seemed to turn into a fire festival of sorts, with the actor initially planning to fund all 4 films before the well ran dry. Unfortunately, the first movie didn't pan out quite as Costner and the studio were hoping, so the second, which is fully finished and has already celebrated screenings at film festivals, is still awaiting a theatrical release date. From there, it's anyone's guess as to what will happen in terms of the final 2 chapters, as it appears that Horizon is being kept on ice, at least for now. Head back to the Old West with Costner for one last shootout before Wyatt Earp leaves Netflix on October 1st. Kevin Costner's 1995 sci-fi film that was once the most expensive movie ever made is a surprise streaming hit. 2025 marks the 30th anniversary of one of the most controversial movies of all time. Made for an estimated production budget of around $175 million, which faced setbacks due to production problems. Kevin Costner's Waterworld was the most expensive movie of all time upon its arrival in 1995 and disappointed many theatergoers and critics for not living up to its record-breaking title. Now, 3 decades on from the discourse-dominating release of Waterworld, the film is finding a much easier life on streaming. At the time of writing, Waterworld is one of the 10 most streamed movies on Tubi in the US, with this streaming success having helped the film maintain its cult hit status. Considered today to be a misunderstood gem, some suggest that the high-budget, high-concept project simply didn't fit into the mid-90s cinematic landscape. This can be seen via the film's ratings on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, with critics giving it a mixed 59% and audiences a poor 44%. On the site, the critics' consensus reads, though it suffered from toxic buzz at the time of its release, Waterworld is ultimately an ambitious misfire, an extravagant sci-fi flick with some decent moments and a lot of silly ones. For those yet to see Waterworld, below is a look at the synopsis. Waterworld is, at the time of writing, the 5th most streamed title on Tubi, with 9 other eye-catching movies sandwiching it in place. The buddy cop action film, Lethal Weapon, is at number 10, with the Mick Jackson-directed Volcano, starring Tommy Lee Jones, at #9, and Julia Roberts. Steel Magnolias at number 8. Lethal Weapon 3 is proving more popular than its predecessor at number 7, with the cult animated hit Robots at number 6, and Waterworld, as mentioned, at number 5. The 2014 Annie remake is at number 4, with David Ayer's crime flick The Tax Collector at number 3, and the Jason Statham-led sequel, Meg 2, The Trench, at number 2. Topping the current list is 2017's Girls Trip. Costner's Horizon 3 will only happen if first installment connects with streaming. Audience. Kevin Costner's Horizon, an American Saga, was conceived as a 4-part Western epic, a decade-long passion project meant to play out like a grand, old-school saga. But after the disappointing box office performance of Chapter 1, the future of the entire series is now in doubt. Sam Worthington, who had a major role in the project, revealed this week that the continuation of the saga may rest entirely on whether Chapter 1 finds a large enough audience on streaming via Variety. That was Costner's passion project. He'd been working on it for 10 years, Worthington said. It all comes down to whether the audience connects. The passion is always there, but sometimes it's just about whether it's the right time for people to embrace it. Worthington also confirmed that Costner had mapped out and written all 4 films, and that he's read every script. It's a bizarre situation. A movie that flopped theatrically, but went on to become the number 1 most-watched title across streaming in January. Chapter 2 was already shot 2 years ago, but remains unreleased, while financing for Chapters 3 and 4 has dried up. Costner even managed to shoot 9 days' worth of footage for Chapter 3 before production was forced to shut down due to lack of funds. Back in July, I reported that Netflix had made an offer to Costner, with the streamer interested in helping fund Chapters 3 and 4 as part of a push to get into the Yellowstone/Western game. Costner originally declined, but given the lack of financing and a theatrical distributor, it wouldn't be surprising if he's reconsidering. Chapter 2, which cost $110 million, was pulled from Warner Brothers' schedule last year. It eventually world premiered at the Venice Film Festival in September, where it drew weak reviews, further complicating distribution. With theaters unlikely to be a viable path forward, Netflix is now the only, and smartest, option left for Costner to complete his saga. Just do it, Kevin. Kevin Costner was afraid of looking old on Yellowstone set. Kevin Costner got the actor who played his son on Yellowstone to dye the gray out of his hair, so it wouldn't make him look like an old father on screen. The bodyguard actor, 69, starred as ranch patriarch John Dutton on the hit Paramount Network series, and Dave Annable, 45, who portrayed his son Lee Dutton in the show, has opened up about Kevin's grooming order. Telling people about his latest role in Season 2 of the series Lioness, he said about being allowed to go back to his natural gray hair for the part. I asked, and this one they said, yes. I asked on Yellowstone, and God bless Mr. Costner. He was like, no, you're going to dye it. I don't want to look that old. I was like, oh, okay. Copy that. That makes sense. Before he left Yellowstone, Kevin was reportedly raking in $1.3 million per episode. But since leaving, he has admitted his epic Horizon Western film series has not had overwhelming success. Kevin plunged a huge chunk of his personal fortune into making the first in a series of movies in an epic Western series, which he has so far followed up with Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 2, with a third chapter on the way. He said at the 2024 Venice Film Festival about the first installment, "It didn't have overwhelming success." But the Dances with Wolves star optimistically added, "I've had a lot of movies that way that have stood the test of time." Kevin added the studio behind Horizon initially planned to release its sequel 6 weeks after the first film's release, before they backtracked and decided not to put it out in mid-August. But he added, "For me, it fell back into my plan, which was I always wanted to come out with movies about 5-6 months apart, and that was going to allow me to come to Venice. I would have never come to Venice, because they won't show the film here if it was already out." Kevin Costner wanted to cry while shooting this movie, and his hard work paid off with $228.4 million earning at box office. A man's got to know his limitations and still choose to defy them. That line is not from a movie, not yet, but it should be. Because that's exactly what we thought when we found out Kevin Costner filmed most of Hidden Figures while in pain. No, seriously. While the world applauded his performance as Al Harrison, the no-nonsense NASA boss in the Oscar-nominated drama, the Yellowstone star was quietly fighting off kidney stones and crushing discomfort. He wanted to cry. Yes, the actor nearly cried while filming Hidden Figures. And not because the script was moving, though it was, but because he was literally suffering in silence, acting his heart out with kidney stones tearing through him. Kevin Costner was really suffering. Kidney stones the size of his determination, 10 days on an IV drip, and still, not a single day off. No tantrums, no tabloid-worthy diva behavior. Just a rolled sleeve and a clenched jaw. Honestly, it sounds less like a film set and more like a silent war zone. "I sat in my trailer with a morphine drip in my arm," Costner said via People. He never let the pain steal the show. That's old-school Hollywood valor wrapped in modern humility. While we clapped in theaters for his stone-faced portrayal of NASA's Al Harrison, the man was quietly dripping morphine off set and hiding for bruises under his sleeves. Can we take a moment to let that settle? That's the kind of vulnerability men are trained to swallow whole. But here it is, spilling out, plain spoken. And it makes the performance even more unforgettable. This isn't your average Hollywood sob story. While most of us call in sick for a sniffle, Kevin Costner was on morphine and still showed up. He has Oscars under his belt and box office gold to his name. But in 2016, during a movie about forgotten heroes, he pulled off a performance that might just be his most forgotten feat. In the same interview, he said, "And guess what? The universe took notice." The film earned a jaw-dropping $228.4 million via the numbers. That's not just numbers. That's blood, sweat, and, almost, tears turned into success. Hidden Figures is a syllabus in unspoken history. It took 3 under-recognized geniuses, Katherine Goebel Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, and finally gave them their due on screen. And as much as Taraji P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monáe lit up the screen, Costner played his part to perfection as the tough but fair Harrison. He wasn't the hero of the story, but he understood what allyship looked like. Also, Hidden Figures became one of the most profitable films of 2016, earned 3 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, and walked away with the SAG Award for Outstanding Cast Performance. Critics gave it a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, and audiences gave it their hearts. What made it tick? Authentic storytelling, cast chemistry, and a whole lot of heart, plus the kind of painful devotion from Costner that no script can write. Costner pays tribute to master at work, Graham Greene, who tried to thank Dances with Wolves filmmaker before his death. A day after Graham Greene died at the age of 73. After a long illness, he is being remembered by Kevin Costner. It was Costner's 1990 Western Dances with Wolves that put Greene on the Hollywood map and earned him an Oscar nomination. A few things come to mind when I think of Graham Greene and our time together on Dances with Wolves. Costner wrote on IG Tuesday next to the Tatanka scene from the movie, in which Dunbar, Costner, tries to communicate with wind in his hair, Rodney A. Grant, and Kicking Bird, Greene, by pretending to be a buffalo and succeeds in establishing a connection with Greene's character. Greene, a Canadian First Nations actor, had spoken about the challenges of having to learn the Lakota language for the film. "I think of how willing he was to learn the Lakota language," Costner said. I think of my joy when I heard that his work on the film was recognized with an Academy Awards nomination. And I think of this scene in particular, when he was able to establish so much about the relationship between Dunbar and the natives with so few words. He was a master at work and a wonderful human being. In his final hours, Greene unsuccessfully tried reaching out to Costner to express his gratitude to the filmmaker who changed his life, with his agent, Michael Greene, no relation, promising to pass on the message to Costner. The feeling was mutual. "I'm grateful to have been witness to this part of his lasting legacy," Costner wrote today. "Rest in peace, Graham." Silverado. And there's one aspect of Kevin Costner's performance I wish he'd bring back. When I'm not keeping up with all the new and upcoming 2025 movies, I like to go back and relax by checking out classic movies that I either haven't seen in a very long time or for the first time entirely. Recently, my wife and I sat down to rewatch Silverado, one of Kevin Costner's best westerns and his earliest, and we were both blown away by the Academy Award winner's portrayal of a young gunslinger in this often overlooked 80s movie. In the days since watching this movie that had me rooting for the outlaws, I've been thinking about Silverado a lot, especially when it comes to Costner's take on Jake, the young and dynamic kid brother of Scott Glenn's Emmett. And there's something about his performance I really wish he'd bring back. Kevin Costner's Jake in Silverado is so young and immature, and I'm here for it. I've been watching Kevin Costner movies for about as long as I can remember, and I'm all about most of his work. This is especially true when it comes to his great baseball movies. Over the years, I've gotten used to him playing these older, more mature, or at least grounded characters like Field of Dreams' Ray Kinsella or Let Him Go's George Blackledge, which makes revisiting Silverado such a wild experience. I mean, the first time we see Jake, Costner's young gunslinger, he starts climbing up and down the walls and ceiling of a jail cell as he explains how he ended up in the predicament, just shy off being 30. The actor who'd go on to lead all-time great westerns like Dances with Wolves and Open Range looks and acts like a kid not fully aware he's about to be hanged for murder. Costner finds that perfect balance of goofiness and badassness. Jake isn't just an immature and fun-loving gunslinger. In fact, Costner's character is just as much of a badass as we'd see later on in his stellar career. Sure, he's goofy sometimes and cracks jokes at inappropriate times, but he's more than capable of handling his own in a fight, either with his fists or his guns. From shooting all kinds of black hats to toying with foes with his revolvers to helping out his brother and friends, played by Kevin Kline and Danny Glover, to saving the good folks of Silverado, Jake does it all, and he does it with a grin on his face the majority of the time. I really wish we'd get more performances like this. Don't get me wrong, I love what Costner achieved in his more dramatic roles, and he's long been one of my favorite actors. It's just that I really wish we had gotten more performances like this over the years. Yeah, he's played more comedic parts in movies like Bull Durham, Tin Cup, and Swing Vote. The only thing that comes close to the comedy in Silverado, but nothing like good old Jake. I'm not saying he needs to change everything. I would just like to see a not-so-serious Kevin Costner part every now and then. If you haven't seen Silverado in a long time or at all, I cannot recommend this movie enough, as it's without a doubt one of the best westerns of all time. Everything we know about Taylor Sheridan's The Madisons so far. Taylor Sheridan's Yellowstone universe has lassoed another offshoot, The Madison, into development. The show won't follow the Dutton family as Season 5B of the flagship series awaits its premiere and farewell of sorts to John Dutton, Kevin Costner, and other characters, though Costner will not return. Deadline. Exclusively confirmed. An offshoot of Yellowstone with Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser. For everything we know about the Madison, read on. The Madison will follow the McIntosh family, a New York City family living in the Madison River Valley of central Montana. Kevin Zegers is the latest addition to the next installment in the Yellowstone universe. He will play Cade, new neighbor of Michelle Pfeiffer. Stacy Clyburn. Cade is responsible for looking after their property until they arrive. Danielle Vasanova's role was also recently revealed. She will be portraying Kestrel, an indigenous woman married to a Montana rancher, as a supporting role in the series. Michelle Pfeiffer was first confirmed to headline the spin-off. She will play the mother of two daughters, Bo Garrett and Elle Chapman. Chapman's character is Paige McIntosh, who luxuriates in the New York lifestyle perpetuated by her parents and husband. Patrick J. Adams will play Russell McIntosh, Paige's investment banker husband. Garrett will play Abigail Reese, a New York mother of two who is recently divorced. Amaya Miller will play Abigail's oldest daughter, Bridget. Deadline. Exclusively reported. Matthew Fox's boarding of the project in the role of Bachelor Paul, who loves the outdoors. Kurt Russell's joining the project was finally confirmed in early September 2025. The show is produced by MTV Entertainment Studios, 101 Studios, and Bosque Ranch Productions. Creator Sheridan will executive produce alongside Pfeiffer, David C. Glasser, John Linson, Art Linson, Bob Yari, David Hutkin, Christina Voros, Michael Friedman, and Keith Cox. Deadline heard that the show will receive an early renewal. Are there other Yellowstone spin-offs? Yes. 1923, starring Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, will be back for a second season in February 2025.1883. Another prequel show starring Tim McGraw and Faith Hill has one season available to stream. An offshoot of Yellowstone led by Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser is also in the works, as D. Eadline exclusively reported. Dave Annable says Kevin Costner made him dye his gray hair on Yellowstone so he wouldn't look old in comparison. Exclusive. Dave Annable is embracing his natural salt and pepper look. In an exclusive conversation with People at the Season 2 premiere of Lioness on October 23rd, the actor, 45, dished on being allowed to go gray for the Thriller series. I asked, and this one they said yes, he said, before recalling. I asked on Yellowstone, and God bless Mr. Kevin Costner. He was like, no, you're going to dye it. I don't want to look that old. He was like, oh, okay. Copy that. That makes sense. So yeah, for this one I think it worked. He said of his role as Neil in the Thriller series Lioness. We're able to use it. It looks Dr. Y. In Yellowstone, Annable plays Lee Dutton, the ill-fated son of patriarch John Dutton, Costner. While speaking to People in July 2023, the actor revealed that he initially passed on auditioning for the Western when his wife Odette introduced him to Taylor Sheridan, the creator of Yellowstone and Lioness. I'm from New York. I was on a horse twice in my life, he laughed at the time. I had no idea how much I would love being a cowboy and being in the mountains of Montana and on a horse. I mean, it hits different, all of it. While Annable's time on the ranch was short-lived, Sheridan had another role in mind for him on Lioness. I'm super excited. Taylor's incredible. He's one of the best, most authentic voices we have out there right now, he told People at the time. You put this cast together, and I'm like, holy yes, this is an all-star team. Taylor has said I have a face he wants to kill, he added. For this, I was like, don't kill me. I can't take two in a row. In addition to Annable, Lioness stars Zoe Saldana, Nicole Kidman, Morgan Freeman, Genesis Rodriguez, Laisla de Oliveira, Jill Wagner, LaMonica Garrett, Jennifer Ely, James Jordan, Austin A. Bear, Jonah Wharton, Bruce McGill, and Thad Luckenbill. Never miss a story. Sign up for People's free daily newsletter to stay up to date on the best of what People has to offer, from celebrity news to compelling human interest stories. Season 2 of Lioness premieres Sunday, October 27th on Paramount+. For more People news, make sure to sign up for our newsletter. Read the original article on People. Christine's lawyer says Kevin Costner legally can't kick her kids out of home. Kevin Costner's estranged wife, Christine Baumgartner, claimed that the actor has no legal right to kick her and their 3 children out of the family's longtime home. This RFO request for order seeks to kick Christine and their 3 children out of the house that the children have lived in for their entire lives. John Rydell, Baumgartner's lawyer, wrote in court documents obtained by Insider on Friday, June 16th. Although the legal basis for Kevin's request to kick his wife and children out of their home is all but non-existent, this is still a matter of critical importance for Christine. Rydell's comments came from a Wednesday, June 14th, filing by the former model. In the documents, Rydell criticized Costner's lawyer, Laura Wasser, for not agreeing to delay a hearing where a judge will decide to grant the Yellowstone star's request to bar his ex from living on his Santa Barbara estate, according to Insider. Earlier this week, Us Weekly confirmed that Costner, 68, filed documents claiming that Baumgartner, 49, is refusing to vacate the premises. The bodyguard noted that the former couple's prenup states that Baumgartner has 30 days after filing for divorce to move off of their property. In order to view the video, please allow manage cookies. According to Costner, the handbag designer is allegedly using the situation to force him into various financial demands. The Golden Globe winner said he would contribute as part of his child support obligations $30,000 per month for a rental house and is willing to advance another $10,000 for her moving costs. The Dances with Wolves actor also claimed that Baumgartner has withdrawn from my bank account and charged on my credit card a total of $95,000, payable to her divorce attorneys and forensic accountant since April 2023, according to the documents obtained by us at the time. The California native noted that the alleged action was done without any prior notice to me. Kevin simply asks that Christine honor her commitments to him by moving out of his separate property home. He has offered financial assistance to ease the transition, the filing claims, adding that Costner has continued to pay 100% of the children's expenses. Us confirmed in May that Baumgartner filed for divorce from Costner after nearly 19 years off marriage, citing irreconcilable differences. According to the court documents, Baumgartner stated that the pair separated on April 11th. They are seeking joint physical and legal custody of their children, sons Caden, 15, and Logan, 14, and daughter Grace, 12. The Oscar winner also shares daughters Annie, 39, and Lily, 36, and son Joe, 35, with ex-wife Cindy Silva and son Liam, 27, with ex-Bridget Rooney. Costner, for his part, reacted to the divorce filing via a statement from his rep in May, indicating that the split was not his decision. It is with great sadness that circumstances beyond his control have transpired which have resulted in Mr. Costner having to participate in a dissolution of marriage action, the statement read. We ask that his, Christine's, and their children's privacy be respected as they navigate this difficult time. Later that month, a source exclusively told us that the duo's separation was surprising, as everyone thought Kevin and his wife were super happy, adding that Costner is blindsided, but loves his wife and is trying to get her back. The director has often gushed about Baumgartner over the years. In January, he praised the Cat Bag Couture founder for throwing him a party at their home when he was unable to attend the Golden Globes due to flooding in Santa Barbara. My wife, with $30, went down to the store, I'll never forget this, and she bought about 30 balloons because it was just going to be us and our family in the den watching the Golden Globes. Costner, who won the awards for Best Actor in Drama Series for his role in Yellowstone, gushed via Instagram 1 month after the award show. Costner and Baumgartner initially met in the 90s, but didn't start dating until several years later. Prior to tying the knot, they briefly called it quits before quickly reconciling. Fear kept me from marrying Christine. She wanted a child, but I was afraid I couldn't be an effective father, the director recalled to Closer Weekly in June 2018. I woke up and thought, am I going to lose a beautiful woman who is willing to be with me to my very last breath because I am afraid to say yes to a child? That's all it took. Sometimes you learn the thing you're most afraid of will save your life. Costner later got candid about what he considers the secret to a successful marriage. I know that sounds so simple. If you're willing to tell somebody that you love them, are you also willing to say you're sorry? You need to, even when you think you're in the right, he told Parade in May 2012. 3 years later, Yellowstone's Kevin Costner replacement has finally arrived. 3 years after his final Yellowstone episode, the Western franchise finally has a replacement for Kevin Costner. Despite his premature exit from the celebrated Taylor Sheridan series, Costner has remained the face of the Yellowstone franchise for his portrayal of John Dutton, the patriarch of the Dutton family. His absence has left massive shoes to fill, despite stars like Billy Bob Thornton and Harrison Ford stepping into leading male roles in Taylor Sheridan's shows. There's yet to be a character with the widespread appeal of John Dutton. Costner is one of the biggest and most recognizable movie stars of all time, and to see him leading a Western TV show armed with top-notch dialogue was an exciting prospect. Recent reports revealed that Kurt Russell would be joining the cast of The Madison as a series regular. This is an upcoming Yellowstone spin-off that's set to premiere in 2026 and already stars Michelle Pfeiffer, Scarface, Matthew Fox, Lost, and Patrick J. Adams, Suits. If there's one man who can offer a similar appeal to Kevin Costner in Yellowstone, it's Kurt Russell. Many of Russell's career highlights came around the same time as Costner's, with films like Escape from New York and Tombstone appealing to a similar audience pool. His name will certainly stand out in the show's targeted demographic. At 74 years old, Kurt Russell is still delivering high-quality performances, recently starring in the Apple TV Plus Godzilla series, Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. The actor also has extensive experience in the Western genre, with an excellent resume of Bone Tomahawk, The Hateful Eight, and, of course, the aforementioned Tombstone. Funnily enough, Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner both famously played the same Western character, Wyatt Earp. Following Tombstone's success, Costner starred in the film Wyatt Earp the next year, playing the role Russell had so expertly portrayed. Costner's film wasn't as big a success, but it's still a fun connection. Kurt Russell's The Madison casting is somewhat misleading, as the report didn't state which season he would be starring in. As far as we know, The Madison Season 1 wrapped filming in January 2025. The show is currently in post-production and set to premiere in early 2026. I don't think Russell will appear prominently in it. That said, The Madison is already renewed for a second season, which is set to begin filming this fall. I imagine this will be the season Kurt Russell appears in, meaning his Yellowstone debut might not be until late 2026 or early 2027.